Welcome to episode 42 of the Hike or Die Outdoor Adventure Podcast. I am kind of joined by Craig. We're in separate studios tonight. How you doing, Craig?
Hey, mate, I'm doing great.
That is good. Hey, Craig, what do you think it would be like if I did a podcast where I did zero preparation and I had absolutely nothing ready?
Sounds like what I would do, actually. But yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, if you keep listening, you're going to find out how that rolls out. Thank you, as always, to our regular podcast sponsors for their support. Topo Maps Plus, a phone application that allows you to view topographical maps and track your location even without cell phone coverage. Go deeper into the backcountry. Rios floating polarized sunglasses with 100% UV protection for the love of water. Bluey Merino, Australian superfine merino wool base, mid and top layer garments. Where our story ends, yours is just beginning. Caribee, one of Australia's leading backpack, travel and outdoor brands. They supply us with dry bags, waterproof day packs and expedition bags. Supporting our sponsors allows us to continue to produce this podcast, so please jump online and check out what they have to offer. We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast today and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. How you doing, Craig?
Hey, Tom. I'm doing really well, mate. And so much better now I'm chatting with you.
Sorry it's not face-to-face.
Yeah.
But do you want to know what I did with the extra time that I would normally be traveling to the studio to meet you?
Yeah, what's going on?
I went out and had sushi with a friend of mine.
Fair enough. Yeah, mate.
I've got some time to kill.
Swings and roundabouts, right? I mean,
it's good.
Yeah, I bet it's better not having to drive this far. So
yeah, on a cold night like tonight, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty good to just get home here in me what is it? My checkered mountain shirt and my Ugg boots.
Very good, mate.
That's what I don't wear at your place. You're missing out.
Very casual, right? Very relaxed.
What's new with you?
Mate, I'm doing really well. I mean, we could talk about sickness and bad weather and all the stuff that's been stopping me from getting out lately, but I've just got back on track, mate, and had a little bit of an outing on the weekend, climbed up a bit of a peak and had a bit of fun.
That's good.
But yeah, do you remember how sick I was when we had to cancel that?
Well, of course I remember how sick you were because we had obviously planned a hike for that weekend.
Yeah.
And booked everything, paid for everything. And then, that's fine. I don't hold any resentment towards you. I'm not.
We had to call it
you.
About 2 days out, didn't we? We had to call it.
Yeah, it was a couple of days out. So there's no way you want to be dragging yourself out there. And that was a little while ago now, so it was freezing cold in that area too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have been carrying you out had we have taken that.
It probably would have been all right, but the next week I got really sick, and if I had have done that as well, I don't know.
You got more sick the week after.
I did, yeah.
And you didn't do anything.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, no. You would have been I'd have been visiting you in hospital, recording the intros in hospital.
Yeah. But yeah, if you wanted to know about just this weekend, I was going to ask you if you'd ever been to Mount Cordeaux and Mount Mitchell. They come up on the news feed a lot. People,
yeah, they're super popular. That's
fantastic.
Right on Cunningham's Gap.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, how many times have you driven that highway, got to that car park, but have you stopped there before? Have you ever?
No, I think I've stopped there not to get out, just to, I can't remember what.
So I thought, mate, I'll do that. It's pretty accessible, and took the boy up, and it was really cool. I really liked it.
Did you do one of the two?
Yeah, just Mount Cordeaux.
Awesome.
And it's just easy, but was great fun just getting up onto the top and having a fantastic view, man. Like really nice.
Is Cordeaux the one on the same side as the car park?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Because the other one you have to cross that horrific road.
Yeah. No, it's a good spot.
That's
Absolutely.
cool. Did you get any good photos?
Yeah, yeah, I did. It's like I had Elliot there, and I was just so scared that he was gonna, I don't know, fall to his death the whole time. So I don't know why I didn't take more photos, but I was just like keen to get back down at some point. This fathering instinct, he didn't care walking along some of these little narrow sections where there was a bit of a drop off. He just didn't care, but I'm like, he could just kick his foot on a rock and tumble. And he was just talking the whole time. I'm like, just stop talking and watch where you're walking. But
just if not for anyone's sake but mine.
So yeah, I was a bit anxious on the top, let's put it that way. But
needed a harness, like have him in a harness with a cable back to you, clipped onto your harness.
Yeah.
And if he did fall, you'd just kind of like sit down and then anchor him. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that when you're that height and that age, you don't really even have any fear, and it's not a risk to him because he's just so capable probably. But when you're standing at my height looking at him, I'm thinking he could trip and fall, but he probably never would. Sort of an unnecessary fear, but yeah,
He's not old like us. He doesn't have slow reflexes.
No, but he did trip a couple of times, like earlier on. But
right.
And when it
got primed you,
and I just sort of went, oh shit. But I think I felt like I should hold his hand, but that would have even been worse because
the trail was too narrow.
Better off just letting him go, and he was fine. It's just me. It's just me and in my head.
Oh. Hey, it's understandable.
Yeah, but no, it's great. It's really good.
Very good.
What have you been up to?
We got out to a place called the Bunya Mountains for a whole week. It was. Awesome. Stayed in a house up there and did tons of hiking. We had a combination of really, really cold weather and rain, but also completely sunny days.
All right.
Almost like alternating the whole week. So it was really interesting. The place where we were staying, when we first arrived, we looked out from the back deck and we could see a huge valley beneath us, and then these monstrous bunya pines everywhere. Obviously, that's where the area gets its name. And then I think it was the next day, this cold front came through and we couldn't see beyond the back of the balcony. We were just literally engulfed in thick white clouds.
All right.
So, and they just swirl around the cabin, and then, later on that day, something might come back into view, and it was super interesting. And you felt equally exposed and immersed, which I think was the beautiful part of it. Like living in the clouds was, something special.
But sounds good.
It's not my first time hiking there. We've been up there once before, but I definitely did a lot of kilometers up there and went off trail a little bit, found a really cool spot down by this stream and just made my coffee down there, or rather my coffee.
Yep.
And, by the way, I'm going to hang on, I need to put a note. I need to talk about that. I told you I was unprepared. I'll come back to that. Excuse me. So yeah, and then I think it was 2 days later, I was telling my eldest son about it, and I said, "Oh, do you want to come back?" And everyone had the option of, coming with me or not.
and it was a bit miserable, and he said, yeah, I'll come with you. So he brought his camera along and was taking a whole bunch of photos. He was loving it. And I said, I'll show you this secret spot I found. So we went off trail, and we ended up sitting in this rainforest next to the stream in the middle of nowhere. I made myself a little cafe and made him a chai latte, mate. He's very sophisticated.
Yeah.
And we just had some snacks and had a great time. And then we jumped back on the trail, and it's a 14K loop, and then we added a little bit. And yeah, he loved it. Absolutely. He just loves going off trail. He loves going on trail as well. But when you go off trail and find little havens like that,
just the two of you.
Where he gets it from.
Yeah, right. Just the two of you. Just a little bit of a bonding.
Oh yeah,
time.
like we all did that whole circuit, the 14Ks a few days before. But I did it. I did it three times in the week, and then a shorter one elsewhere. But on that particular day, it was just him and I, which was really nice as well. So we all got out there. We did a whole bunch. I think probably did 50 or 60 kilometers in the week.
Yeah, great.
Which is nice. And most of it right in the forest, which is beautiful.
Perfect.
Speaking of which, there's two tangents off of that conversation. One is I'm going to go to the cafe because I don't want to forget that point.
Right.
So what we were doing, or what I was doing with my coffee most recently was called cowboy coffee, which is the boiling the coffee grounds in the bottom of a pot for, around 7 to 9 minutes. And then you pour some cold water in the top. It drags all the grounds to the bottom, and you just pour off delicious coffee. Then our good friend of the show, Robin, posted on the Hodcast group. If you're not a member of the Hodcast private group, you need to get on there for several reasons. One is you learn cool things like I'm just about to tell you, and that is Robin was saying that he went to, so I guess the Scandinavian version of, I hope Scandinavian is the correct term. He's going to be laughing if I got that wrong. Or it might just be Swedish version of cowboy coffee is called Cafe, and we've discussed that at length before. But when he actually got a tutorial done by this lady who's an expert in it, and it's something that we didn't realize at the time, was she never let it get to a rolling boil at any point.
Oh, right.
So she still did it for an extended period of time, but she kept the heat down to a point where it didn't break the surface. And what that did was meant that it had a crema on top that I wasn't getting with cowboy coffee because you're disturbing the surface, right?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's super interesting. If you don't like coffee, it's not super interesting. But I thought I'd mention that. So he posted that in the podcast. I said, I'm going to try that next time. So I did when I was with my son. Instead of doing the straight up cowboy coffee, which would be a rolling boil, I still heated the water to very hot, and I let it go for sort of about 9 minutes, but I did not let it break into a rolling boil.
That must be hard to do. How do you
it is. It's super hard when you're on a hiking stove.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I had to do was keep physically lifting the pot up to adjust the temperature every now and then, rather than trying to adjust the little, what would you call it, the valve down.
But you didn't just warm it up. You tried to keep it hot for about 8.
Yeah, kept it really hot, but never to the point where it actually started to bubble.
For about
so it was still
minutes.
Like super hot to drink,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't at 100 degrees.
Yeah, right.
Celsius.
Then it
Obviously.
made the difference?
It was definitely smooth.
Yeah.
You see, I didn't do a side-by-side. There's no way of doing a coffee and then doing having a cowboy coffee next to it. But it was good. I mean, it was equally as good, without a doubt. Whether or not it was better, I mean, aesthetically, it looked better because it had the crema on top.
Did it? Oh, cool.
That was cool. I mean, I just love the conversations that come out of it.
Yeah.
Another reason people should get on the podcast is because we do listen to people, which is how we found our guest for this podcast episode. We had a suggestion from one of our podcast members of a topic we should cover. And what do you know? We went ahead and covered that in an epic way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I will get to that as well. It's just a selfless plug there. The other tangent I was going to go on was I started getting into walking a lot, like mainly to get the dog out. Skippy the Wonder Dog is an Australian working dog and a Kelpie, and she has got legs for days. So I like to keep her active. But what I did, Craig, I couldn't work out how to get, because I didn't particularly enjoy walking. And I'm not talking about hiking. I'm talking about just walking around the streets. I wasn't particularly a big fan, and I haven't run for a long time. But I'm not sponsored by these guys at all, but have you heard of those Conqueror challenges? Have you seen them pop up in Facebook or whatever?
I'm not sure, mate. No.
Yeah, what it is you pay your entry fee, and then you have to cover the same distance as a famous hike. Or say, for example, you were doing the Great Wall of China, you would have to travel the distance of the Great Wall of China, accumulate the kilometers, with your Garmin or your phone in your pocket or whatever. And then once you've accumulated the amount of kilometers that it would take to walk that hike, they send you a pretty cool medal to kind of commemorate it.
Okay.
And I've looked at this sort of thing for ages and thought, I don't get it. No, it doesn't make sense to me. But I was really looking for something to give me a reason to clock up kilometers. And I mean, 6 months ago, if I was listening to myself say this, I would have been laughing, saying, why don't you just get out and walk, you idiot? But they released a Lord of the Rings 5 medal set, and it covers they've split the entire Lord of the Rings journey, so all 3 movies, up across 5 medals, and each distance that you cover would be what they expect the distance to be between segments within the movie.
Right.
If you're not a fan of the movie or don't know anything about it, it's not going to make much sense to you. But yeah, there's basically 5 major legs to the journey.
Yeah.
And the first one, for example, was 233 kilometers.
Really?
And I finished that a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did it. And so I just, every time I go for a run, so I got back into running, that's a different story. But yeah, every time I go for a walk, I just hit the Garmin. And for me, it's only purposeful walking. Like, I don't just have steps, because I think, walking around the yard or whatever, I would do that anyway. I wanted to force myself to do purposeful. So yeah, my first medal is on the way.
Right, that's fantastic. First of all, if you don't know the movie we're talking about, what's wrong with you? And
yeah.
Secondly, did your feet get really big? Did you turn into a hobbit or what?
My feet got tougher, I guess. In some respects. So the first
that's
part
a long way. That's really
is
cool.
from Yeah, but that's only one leg of 5.
Yeah.
And it's not even the longest one. The last one's around 400 kilometers or something.
Wow.
So, yeah, I clocked up to 30 something, and then I've already done another 50 on the second phase of the journey. That's a shorter one. It's only 150, I think. And then, there's a couple of medium-sized ones, and then the last one that gets you to Mordor is it's the big one. From memory, it's over 300 or 400 kilometers, so that's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is, in the last couple of months, I've walked 300 kilometers. In the same amount of time prior to that, so 3 months before that, I'd walked, pretty much 0.
Yeah.
So the proof's in the kilometers, right? I've lost a heap of weight, it trimmed up, feel really good. The dog's super happy. The walking eventually turned into running. In the last 7 days, I broke my 5K record twice. So it's all coming together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, just charging along. And as I said, my little buddy Skippy is best thing ever. We have good old chats on the walks. She listens to me.
But that's a fantastic motivator, mate. So Conqueror or something, is it?
Conqueror, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I can put the link in the show notes. It's as I said, I'm not sponsored whatsoever.
Oh, no.
And it was something that I would have thought was a little bit silly to do a fake hike, but
pretend.
I actually bought it for myself as my birthday present, and the idea was to get myself back in shape and doing a lot of walking. And I didn't think it would lead to rutting, but it did. I'm super happy about that because I've missed it.
The kids and I have been comparing just our daily step count and stuff. Does it include that in the trip?
Well,
to
you
Mordor?
can if you want, but I deliberately didn't.
Right.
So you could sync the app to your Garmin for when you run or whatever, if you've got a Garmin.
Yep.
But you could also sync it to something like, what's it called? Map My Run.
Map My Run. Even just your iPhone.
But you can, what's that health thing called? Yeah. The steps for you can sync it to that, and it will add them as well.
Right.
I opted to not do that because for me, that wasn't deliberate walking.
That was cheating on a pretend hike.
Well, it's just what I would do anyway. If I walk down,
Yeah, it is. It's just what you normally do.
If I walk down the shop or something, like, why would I count that as purposeful walking?
Wow, that's
because
really
I was going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So and that's my prerogative. Lots of people just have it on steps constantly, and good on them. They're still doing extra steps.
Yeah, it just sounds like good motivation, eh?
Yeah, well, it worked. Like I said, I can't. How can I argue? It got me out there. So anyway, that's been interesting. The Caribbean backpack giveaway. Thank you to everybody who entered that. It was cool. So many people jumping in there and entering. We really appreciate it. I know Caribbean would appreciate it. And especially the 2 winners. The packs are almost on their way. If you're listening to this podcast, they might already be on the way. But I've reached out to the 2 winners, and they're going to go to good homes. And I don't have much else to say except thanks for everybody who got involved. And again, I'm just so glad that was a podcast only competition, that one, specifically to reward listeners of the podcast rather than just throwing it on Instagram and having people enter it that weren't really a part of this kind of unique group that we have. So
mate, that's exciting. I love that we can give stuff away. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'd love for us to get some more in the future too.
Yeah, perfect.
It's cool. On the same note, stickers are still orders are still coming in for stickers, and I still thank you guys for that. And it's about time I worked out the profits and did another donation to some kind of a wildlife organization around the world. The first time we did that was earlier this year to Soldiers for Wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll think of something else, or if anyone's got any suggestions, why don't you join the podcast and give me some suggestions, because as I said when I first started doing it, it doesn't have to be a massive international organization. I'll send the money to a small local organization if they're doing something unique and interesting. We'll keep that going.
Nice.
Sound good?
Very nice. Very good.
I'll tell you, I got this email, Craig, and I have replied to it. A lady called Kaylin, I think is how I pronounce it. Apologies if I've slightly mispronounced that. But I got this email, and I'm not kidding. I wrote back and said this, but it was because I, obviously a reputation for exaggerating and speaking a lot of rubbish on the podcast.
Yeah.
She probably didn't believe me, but it actually brought tears to my eyes. Like in two ways. I thought, firstly, it was absolutely, I was laughing and had tears in my eyes thinking, well, this is so cool that somebody's been touched like this. And then later on, it brought tears to my eyes in a different way, because obviously we're positively influencing people. But what I'll do is I'll read some of it, because just saying those things means nothing to anybody. I won't read the whole thing, but she writes to say, I just wanted to write and say how much my family enjoys your podcast. So oops, sorry, I bumped the microphone. The subject was a family of podcast fans. I've listened to most of the episodes, and recently my husband and kids started listening when we go on road trips. First thing there I would point out is, be careful, kids, because Craig's got a potty mouth. He often swears. He's already sworn in this episode once. He said the SH word, and I apologise for that. I apologise to Kaylin and her husband for
this comes up
kids
every time you say that there's children listening, mate. I'm so sorry about that. Of course, I understand.
Yeah. Anyway, she goes on to say, you might be pleased to note that the Australian slang has even made its way into our normal vocabulary. I didn't even know that we used Australian slang, because I am conscious that we have international listeners, so I deliberately try not to say things that people might not understand. But this is a funny one. You won't even I didn't even know we ever said this. Our family has a notorious habit of bringing out torrential rainstorms and really crappy weather whenever we backpack or camp.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Having things not go as planned is pretty much part of the course for us.
Right.
Lately, when one of these things happen, more than likely one of the kids will just shrug and say, "No dramas."
No dramas. Yeah.
Oh my God, absolutely laughed
That's
my head off
perfect.
till I had tears in my eyes. I just thought, now I hope they do it in an Australian accent as well.
No dramas, mate.
No dramas. No dramas, eh? Just put a little A on the end of it. I don't want that. I don't want an American accent on that. I want you kids to work on that.
But we feel
there's so many more things, like they need to. Oh, we do a whole podcast on teaching those kids how to speak real English, couldn't we, Craig?
Yeah.
Or at least our version of it.
We could lift them up a little bit.
Yeah, good. When you you walk past other hikers, you say, "There you go, mate. You all right?"
Yeah, what's happening?
Yeah, what's going on? And then an answer for that, if someone asks how you are, you say, good as gold, mate.
Yeah, absolutely flaming awesome.
Or you could say, no dramas, buddy. So there's plenty of things there to get your teeth into. Now, at the she goes on to say that she's had her kids out camping and hiking since they were born, which I think is fantastic. Well done.
Yep.
Parents of the Year award goes to Kaylin and her husband. I can't think of a better thing to do with your children. And anyway, now they're 9 and 11, and they're enjoying some longer hikes with the family. They've even started their own little YouTube channel, which highlights their adventures. And wanted to make sure I mentioned it to you. So I did go and check this out. It's called Siblings on the Trail. I'll put a video up or a link to the channel or both in the show notes. And I checked it out, and it's hilarious. It's they're such great kids, and there's all different types of videos, like them hiking with their parents, and mum and dad are pretty popular in the episodes. I watched quite a few episodes, and there's somewhere there he's the young fella's starting a fire with a fire steel.
Yep.
And I got some tips for him on that too. If you're listening, what I'd suggest is, it's hard to explain through the audio realm, but first of all, I think you need to get your fire steel much, much closer to the kindling that you had. Now, don't get me wrong, you got it started, 10 out of 10. You needed a fire and you got the fire done. I'm not having a go, but I was just observing and thought, oh gosh, if I was right there at the time, I would have suggested a couple of things.
It's okay, mate. He tells me how to do things too all the time.
Yeah. Craig, don't hike like that. Oh my gosh, never hike like that. It's not how you hike.
That's not how you hold those poles, mate. Just do it like this.
Geez, don't stop swinging them around your head. What's that even do? Craig, don't pick up that snake. Get that fire steel real close, even to the point where you can lean or press the tip of the fire steel onto the kindling. And what that does is creates a solid base so that both hands aren't moving around. Because although you're throwing out a whole bunch of sparks, they do often shoot in the one direction. So if you can angle that fire steel in the right direction, keep it nice and firm and press down, and then fire off those sparks, you'll get an idea of what direction they're going in each time, and you can slightly adjust your angle from there. The other thing you do is, a lot of people struggle because let's say for argument's sake, you have your fire steel in your left hand and you're using your striker in the right hand. They tend to hold the fire steel still and then move the striker hand. Another way of doing it is to put the striker right down over the kindling, and you actually draw the fire steel away from you, away from the striker. So it's the complete opposite movement. But what it means is that because you've got the striker hand stationary, you're always going to fire those sparks directly into the target.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Anyway, that's was so far off topic, and like I said, I'm not having a go at you, little buddy. You got the job done, and I'm proud of you. But when I saw it, the first thing I thought was, I'll just give a few tips, and I don't know, maybe do an updated video.
Yes, I'm sure he'll have years ahead of him.
Oh, I know, right? This guy's both of these kids are going to have this YouTube channel and their own podcast. And if they want a couple of old dudes on as a guest, they can call us.
Yeah, that's really cool, mate. I'm proud of that too, that they've been following us along. That's good. Yeah,
it's so cool. And she closes out by saying, keep up the great work and thanks for fun way to kill a few hours.
That's great.
Good stuff. All right. The last thing I want to get to, unless you've got anything else you want to talk about, Craig.
No, mate. Not
You
really.
mean you've come into this without any preparation? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I came into it unprepared and I had more.
I was going to talk to you. Did you see what happened to Westray's grave this year?
What happened to it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I want to know. No, what happened?
Yeah, I was didn't want to bring us down, but there's a bit of vandalism happened.
No.
So Tom and I have got a really special spot in our hearts for this kind of incident that happened 80 years ago before we weren't alive. But there was a plane crash in southeast Queensland that where we live that there were some survivors and there was an amazing story of survival. So
the basically the because they didn't have flight records that we have these days and no tracking systems, they completely mistook where they thought the plane went down, and they were looking anywhere from 500 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers away.
yeah,
Like that's 600 miles away.
yeah,
In the wrong direction as well. Because the storm came in, they changed their flight plans at the last minute, and it was a storm that put them down.
So we traced once the steps of
That's right.
the gentleman Bernard O'Reilly who managed to find the plane that crashed, and there were survivors that a lot of people perished, but a few survivors, and one of them had gone out in search and perished, and there's a grave site, and unfortunately
We visited that grave.
some if you see the pictures, man, you'll be quite upset by what he's done to the area, and I didn't want to mention it tonight, but yeah, I was really upset about it. There was a fine issued to this guy, 500 Australian dollars, which is
my gosh,
basically $30 US. I don't know.
Yeah, it's $30 US.
And but they've apparently carried some great big staghorns in and strapped them to some of the trees to cover up the vandalism. He scratched stuff into trees and knocked down some trees too, the bastard. So
Is this one guy?
yeah, he just went on some stupid rampage, and
I'm just looking at some of the photos now.
are you looking it up? Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the worst.
Yeah.
$551
I know.
for
Not enough.
destroying. Was he hacking into the trees with some kind of machete or something?
Yeah.
What
And just
is
really, like that's what you see when you arrive at this place. It just takes away a lot of the...
For context, so there was 3 survivors. 2 of them, one had a broken leg, one was kind of too weak to travel and decided to stay with the guy with the broken leg. And Westcray was the athletic kind of guy, and he said, "Look, I'm going to go and get help." And what he did was fantastic, because he did it by the book. He went downhill, and then he found a stream, and then he went downstream. He was doing everything right. He was a fairly accomplished rock climber back in, I think, the UK, from memory. And so, he was a bit of an outdoors guy, and he was doing such a great job. When Bernard O'Reilly, so the guy discovered the plane wreck, and the 2 survivors said, "Stay here and I'll go and catch up with Westcray if he hasn't got out yet, and I'll raise the alarm as well, and we'll come back and save you." So he went down the hill in exactly the same way, which proves that it was a really good route to take. But as he was traveling along, he saw some vines ripped out of the side of one of the steep canyons, and some disturbances of the bushes and there's quite a lot of plants that grow on the sides of these canyons. And so he made his way down a different way, a safer way. And he was expecting to find a body there, thought that he had slipped, but there was nobody there. So Bernard kept on traveling downstream, and then a fair way down, he noticed Wes Gray was sitting there, facing the opposite direction, leaning against a rock, just sitting down with his tobacco tin in his lap and his cigarette in his hand, and was just gazing off into the distance. And Bernard was calling out to him over the noise of the stream and everything. And he thought, he can't hear me. But when he got to him, he was stone cold dead. Like so what they worked out was he actually did slip and take a heavy fall back at the point where Bernard saw the vines ripped out of the side of the cliff, and then he smashed up his ankle, and he must have taken a hit to the head, but he kept on soldering, stopped for a cigarette break, and just went to sleep.
That was it.
And so that's the guy. Wes Gray is the guy, essentially the second hero of the story or rather the first hero that tried to make his way to save everybody, but didn't make it.
Yeah, it's an epic story, and we've read the book because O'Reilly did publish a book way back in the, 1950s or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's a really old book called Green Mountains.
Valleys, is that what you said?
Green Mountains.
Green Mountains, sorry, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it at the bookshelf.
Have you
right
got it
now.
there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in front of me.
Yeah.
So I've got a whole shelf with hiking and outdoor books, and I just saw the spine of it.
Yeah.
No, that's terrible.
It's really
terrible.
bad. And the fine is minuscule for
the fine's not. You would get more if you, I don't know, if you threw some rubbish on the ground, you'd get a bigger fine than that.
Yeah, so that's upsetting. I thought you might have spotted it actually on.
No, I didn't. And if I did, I wouldn't have brought the whole podcast down by mentioning it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
How am I going to lift us up out of this deep, deep chasm?
Come on, man, tell a joke, will you?
Oh, gosh. I know how to lift us out of this. I'll take us back to earlier. I mentioned the podcast group that everyone should join, and you're probably sick of hearing about. But what I did recently was I shouted out to the members and said, can you give me some suggestions on topics you might be interested in hearing about? Because sometimes Craig and I just don't know what you're interested in. You might not be interested in what we're in, or maybe you are, and maybe we've just never spoken about it because we think it's a boring topic. Quite often that has been the case statistically when I look back and think, oh, nobody would want to listen to a whole podcast about that, but people just like it. So I've given up trying to predict what people like, is what I'm trying to say, and I reached out. Now, a lady called Karina said, advice and safety tips on solo multi-day trips for women. Gee, that is hard to say fast. Advice and safety tips on solo multi-day trips for women.
Gotcha.
I said, I'm not sure either of us are qualified to speak from a woman's perspective. And that we might have a problem with the being a woman part.
That's right, yeah.
So it got me thinking. What it did was I said, let me have a think about this one. It got me thinking. And when you get in the right frame of mind, you kind of see things that you might not normally see. If you buy a new particular type of car, or you're looking at buying a new car, you're You see heaps of those cars around.
Yeah. That's
that phenomenon?
called the red car phenomenon or something like that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, it opened my senses to that topic. And it was literally 2 days later. I think I tell this story on the podcast, so I won't go into too much detail. But a post popped up from a previous podcast guest, Thomas Evung, and it was about a particular book that our guest had written. And anyway, there was comments back and forth, and I started looking into this person, and her name's Linda. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think I've just found the perfect person to talk on this topic. Because, well, her name's Linda, and this is a funny conversation in itself. I'll say Linda Åkerberg. Do yourself a favor and listen very carefully when she pronounces her own surname.
It's amazing.
Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the A with the little O on top. Kerberg. As I said, listen. It is unbelievable when she says it in her native tongue. Absolute gold. It's worth listening just for that.
Yeah, I'll say.
So anyway, the reason I thought she was the perfect candidate to speak on that topic was she's done so much solo stuff like Pacific Crest Trail, Everest Base Camp. I think that was solo. She's done Kilimanjaro 4 times. So much stuff. I'm not going to waste your time now telling you everything because we do go through all of that in the podcast in detail. But she was a fantastic guest. I had so much fun. I had a really good time that night speaking with her. And I remember after we stopped talking to her, Craig, that you and I were still buzzing from how cool this conversation was. And for days and weeks later, because it has been a few weeks since we recorded this, because we already had another podcast in the midst that we had to get out. So there was a bit of a gap. But yeah, I've got such fond memories of it, and I can't wait to, share it with you guys. And then I get to listen to it again as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to let my girls listen to this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys will all get something from it.
Well, the thing that's so good about this is, sure, we've got a fantastic woman on to talk about, being a woman in the outdoors, but also just being a human in the outdoors. Like it's not as if, what I'm trying to say is it's not as if, if you're a guy, you're not going to find this guest interesting. It's completely the opposite. I mean, she's walked rings around like males and females. Like what she's accomplished is beyond so many people. So yeah, if you'll find inspiration in this, no matter who you are. Yeah, whether it's your daughters or someone just getting into hiking, someone who's been into hiking for ages, I'd suggest that Kaylin and Kaylin's daughter will absolutely love this, as will her husband and son.
Damn straight.
So yeah, it's good stuff. I really don't have much more to say on it because I just want to let you guys get into it and it speaks for itself. What about you, Craig?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, guys, enjoy this. Thanks so much for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. I know you're going to enjoy this. See you later.
Hi, Linda. Welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited to have you on as a guest tonight or today for you.
Thank you. Good day, good night.
And can you do me a favor and please pronounce your surname so that I don't have to do it?
Oh, it's pronounced Åkerberg.
Oh my gosh. What? There's no way. There's no way.
You can say you can say Linda Åkerberg.
Yeah, I think that's it. No, say it once more. That was absolutely awesome.
Åkerberg.
de Berry, something like that.
Almost, yeah.
Thank you. There you go. Wow, I'm going to practice that one.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you read that out. Yeah, no surprises to our guests that you're Swedish, so
Yeah.
that probably gave it away.
Mm-hmm.
Linda, I wanted to start by reading out some of the, I guess, list of achievements or things that you've been up to in the last few years, and then
Okay.
just purely for the listeners, and then after that, I'd like to dig into a couple of those, or perhaps a lot of those in detail.
Mm-hmm.
But so you attended the Stockholm School of Photography.
That's right.
You are how would you say, a registered or licensed wilderness first responder?
Yes, certified.
Certified,
authorized.
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
Thank you.
certified,
I'm glad you can speak English, because that's going to be really useful on this podcast for me.
Perfect.
You hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in 2016. You're on the Fjällräven Polar in 2017. Now, how was my pronunciation on that?
It was better than Åkerberg.
Yeah, thanks very much.
So, Fjällräven.
Fjällräven, for anybody who doesn't know, is an Arctic fox, is it not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I only know
That's
that
Swedish word
because
for it.
Yeah, I only know that because I have Fjällräven clothing. Yeah.
Totally.
Now, that was a, like, how would you say it? Dog sledding, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 I saw your video on that. It was unreal. It was fantastic.
It
looked
was
like
a
you were having
fantastic
heaps
adventure.
of fun. Yeah, it looked like you were having a lot of fun on that one, actually. I think every single shot you had a smile from ear to ear.
Yeah, actually, when I was done with that, I was checking me in the mirror, and I had like small white lines on the side of my mouth, for smiling that much. I was sunburned in my face, but I have the white lines.
I think that's a sign of it. That'd be a sign of a good trip. I think if you get back and look in the mirror and, oh my gosh, I've got the smiling sunburn again. That's a good trip.
That's a great sign.
The next one here is the Everest Base Camp 2017.
Yeah.
Here's probably a pronunciation you can help with. La Bouche.
I don't actually. I say Lubuche.
Okay. You can say whatever you like, Linda. You're the guest. You're always right. What country is that in?
It's in Nepal.
Oh, okay.
So Lubuche is just, I don't know exactly now, but a couple of kilometers, what is it, like west of Everest. So you pass it on the way to Everest Base Camp.
Okay. All right. Did you do that on the same trip?
Yes.
Okay.
I did it on the way back.
Oh, okay. Just for the heck of it. Oh, I've just done base camp. Why don't we just get up this 6,119 meter peak on the way back? That's all right. Totally. That's good. 20. Now this one's. I've got to check this one with you. I got to fact check this with you. Kilimanjaro, 2018, 2019, and am I correct in saying twice in 2020?
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
I did the first time in 2018 I did together with a friend, and then in 2019 I was there as a tour leader for a group.
Oh wow.
And in 2020 I went up by my own as first, and then with a group the week after.
The week after?
Yeah. Or 2 weeks after, something like that.
Oh wow. This is getting good. We haven't even got started. I'm already enjoying the this takes us to, I guess, what you called Expedition Sweden, which is that became your book, didn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially,
right.
that was the journey that you then documented. So that was 2019. Here's a good one. Kungsleden. What's that?
Yes. The King. You can say the Kungsleden or the King's Trail. It's the It's the longest or most well-known trail in Sweden.
Okay.
In Lapland. It goes through Lapland. It's like 425 to 450 kilometers long.
Oh, that's a good length.
Wow.
And did you do that in 10 days? Is that what the 10 days meant?
Yeah, in 2020, I did it in 10 days as a trail running challenge.
Did you have was that one of the videos that you had, or was that a different trail run?
Yeah, I have a trail running video.
Yeah, I watched the trail running video. I didn't realize that it was Kungsleden. Perhaps I should have, known that it was the King's Trail. I'm just learning as we go, you see.
Perfect.
Now we're going to move on to, I did allude to this earlier. Your Expedition Sweden became a book of the same name. Or can you please say Sweden in Swedish, please? Because I had a hard time listening.
Sverige.
Oh, that really, I tried that so many times. And I
Sverige.
thought, no, I'm just going to say Sweden.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you. I do have an absolute love for all languages. Craig gets sick of me asking every single guest how to say something, but I'm fascinated by it. And to be honest, those kind of those areas, like we have a good friend of the podcast who's been a guest a couple of times. He's from Norway, and those kinds of languages just roll off the tongue. They're absolutely beautiful to listen to. It's funny because I was watching some of your videos and they're only in Swedish, and there wasn't even any. I couldn't even click on the subtitles as they didn't exist. So I was watching these whole videos of you talking Swedish. I thought this is quite enjoyable. I don't mind this.
It does sound great.
Yes,
It does. Sounds good. It's a beautiful thing.
Just listening to the sound of it.
It's
totally
fine. Now, on to one of the big ones is your award, which was Female Adventurer of the Year 2019. That's a pretty big award.
Wow.
Linda, I'm just going to put it out there. Yeah, huge. And I went and did my homework, Linda, and I looked through years before and after you and they're not just giving those away to people who, go and do a couple of hikes each year.
Yeah.
It's legitimately some crazy stuff. Now, that's something I wanted to talk to. I guess I'll go into it now. The criteria for that, was that based on what you did during the year 2019, or was it based on the year 2018 and then you get the...
No, it was for the expedition through Sweden.
Oh, okay.
So they give it to someone for a specific adventure, or at least they have done so far.
Oh, wow.
Got it. Right. Yes. And okay, so that expedition Sweden really catapulted a lot of things, didn't it? Including the book.
It did. And it was like my own purpose of that trip was to try to see if I could make a long distance trip through Sweden after being abroad to many adventures, and to see how well Sweden could stand as a country, like if it was good enough for adventures. So that being given that award was I was happy because of myself, of course, but also because of Sweden, that it was given to someone that didn't make an adventure abroad somewhere, but
that's a really good point.
Did it in Sweden.
Your own backyard.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that. And I mean, this is after you've done things like Pacific Crest Trail and Everest Base Camp, and also you'd already done Kilimanjaro before that. So to then come home and capture that, as Craig says, in your own backyard, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, it made me very happy.
Well, that's great. And would you say you were pleasantly surprised when you did take the time to discover your own country and spend that time in the land?
How do you mean?
What I mean is, I guess you were saying that you wanted to see if Sweden was, a beautiful country to travel through, if it was worthy of adventure. Were you surprised that it was when you traveled through there?
I don't think I was surprised, but there was every section of that journey was it was always something new, and I kind of knew that it would be quite amazing as I came north to the mountains, but there was a lot of interesting and challenging and beautiful things in the south and in the middle of Sweden as well.
Yeah, and throughout that journey, it wasn't just hiking, was it? It was a combination of kayaking and cycling also. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That was the same journey. So you're basically just using human-powered travel to traverse the entire country.
Exactly, without any motorized vehicles. That was the point. I was sailing one stretch, and I think I row a kilometer. So that was the 5 ways of traveling.
Oh, okay. Got it. That's fascinating. So did you spend did you do this trip in one go, or did you do sections at a time and come back and do a bit more and then come back and do a bit more later?
No, I did it in one go, with of course some rest days in between.
No,
but
you're allowed to have rest days, Linda.
Thank you.
if you've done all those things since 2016, I mean, you probably deserve a rest day.
But it was in one go, so one complete.
Wow. And how long did that take you? Because I couldn't find that sort of information.
It was 4 months and 3 days.
4 months and 3 days on the trail, on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were you mostly, say, camping on the trail and camping next to your bike and camping with the kayak? Or,
yeah, mostly like that. So I had for southern Sweden, I had a hammock, which I used because I was biking a lot, and it's kind of hard to find, at least in southern Sweden, places to put your tent next to the bike track. It was much easier to find a place to put up your hammock.
Is that because it's difficult to find flat ground and somewhere without too many trees?
Yeah, kind of that, and also in southern Sweden there are there are people living everywhere, and or the nature is protected, or as you say, it's like rocky or a lot of small bushes, and so it could be tricky to find. And when you're biking, you don't see the spots the same way you do as when you're hiking.
Oh, that's great. We love hammock camping as well, so that's great. I was going to ask you if you'd done a bit of camping in a hammock. That's great.
What sort of...
Yeah, really. It was the first time I used it, and I loved it from the first day.
Oh, great.
Oh, wow. Did you have any trouble with the cold?
Yeah, the cold temperatures.
In the hammock?
Not really.
There
Not
you
that
go.
I can think of.
We just need to toughen up, Craig. There you go. Linda's just said it. End of podcast.
Hey.
See you later. We're always...
But it wasn't that cold. I mean, I did it in the summer, so...
Yeah, but your summer's not normal, is it? I mean, what's a nighttime temperature in summer?
Oh, I think that could differ from 5 degrees and up to 20, 25. If it's really
see, we don't
warm.
get 5 degrees where we live until winter.
We've just had a little bit of cold coming towards winter now, and everyone's going crazy because it went down to about 10 degrees Celsius. Overnight. Yeah. Well.
People are dressed, walking around town here, people are dressed like you were dressed on your Fjällräven trip.
Yep. A bit nuts.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
I get these pictures in my head now.
Well, that's exactly what it's like. Yeah. Something that I find, fascinating is one way of putting it. Words elude me right now. But yeah, I guess fascinating would sum it up. is how you got into adventuring and hiking in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It just blows my mind. When I read it, I thought, this is amazing. Like, this is just, it's like something out of a movie. And that, I mean, the fact that you did watch a movie was, it's just incredible. So the movie you saw a trailer for Wild, starring Reese Witherspoon.
Okay.
And then you went out and watched the film. And you say on your website that you still remember that day when you saw the trailer and that it absolutely captivated you. What was it that pulled you towards, well, first of all, the film, and then upon watching the film, what was it that drew you towards the outdoors and adventure?
I think it was a lot of stuff. As you said, I remember like sitting in my bed at night just scrolling through Facebook, as you do sometimes, and not really looking at what you're looking at. But then I saw this trailer, and like it was like everything stopped, and I just watched it over and over again. And I was in a point in my life where I think I needed a break. Like I've been going into I was, how should I say it? I was doing very good in my career. I was like having this dream of becoming a music photographer, and that went really good. I was getting better and better jobs, and everything was going my way. But at the same time, I just started to feel that I wasn't happy about it. But I that was my dream, so I kept doing it, and I didn't understand why I felt more and more unhappy. So I think I needed something to change in my life, and when I saw this trailer, it was like, a flash coming to me, like, wow, what is this about? I had never done anything like it before, but I just got so fascinated by going out into some beautiful nature with not being dependent on anyone else but yourself, and that you had to carry the things you needed to survive on your back and just take care of yourself for a while.
So you were kind of fascinated by that aspect of the idea that, wow, this is something that people do as they live out of a backpack?
Yeah, I mean, as I saw it, I mean, the challenge of everything and just to go away. I mean, I had been working as a music photographer. I was usually hanging out at clubs, and there was like a lot of partying and drinking and all this kind of stuff. And there's one point in that trailer where she just stands on top of the mountain and she just screams. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of how I felt inside. I just wanted, to have a break or something. And then all this other stuff seemed so beautiful. And then when I started to like Pacific Crest Trail, what is that? And I started Google it and watch like documentaries, and I just got so hooked.
And then you ended up doing it as well.
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
And was that about a year after you saw the film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
You didn't take long to get your act together, did you?
No, I think it had a premiere in Sweden in February 2015, and then I realized that I needed to start learning how to do and what I need. So I started out small with a little hike with my mom at midsummer, and then I went to the US in 2015 as well and did 2 sections of it.
Oh wow!
That year, one in North Sierras and one in North Oregon. And I remember I also went to the southern monument by the Mexican border, and I just wanted to go there to see how it was. But when I stood there, it was like, I have a feeling that I will be back here in a couple of months.
That's incredible. That, I mean, a lot of people, things will happen in their life and they'll change their goals, but I don't think I've heard of many people acting on them that quickly. So you've gone from seeing it, being reasonably comfortable where you were, seeing this film, and then within a very short amount of time, acting on that. And not I'm not talking about, I'm going to start hiking in my local area. You've gone overseas. Like, that's just, I find that incredible. Is that a personality trait of yours, or was this completely out of character for you? What I mean by that is to
just go for it, you mean?
Well, yeah, and not just go for it. Like I said, not just say, hey, I'm going to get into hiking, but say, I'm going over to the US and I'm going to start hiking. Is that normal?
Well, now it's
yeah.
normal for
well,
me,
we can't talk about now. We need to talk about the Linda
well,
before.
I think it's part of Linda before too. I mean, I moved when I was 18 and was just finishing school. I moved like half a year after graduating. I moved to Stockholm to start working as a photography assistant. I think I've always been very curious and restless as through my entire childhood, I think. So, yeah, I think so. I think it not to that level before, maybe more thought through. But I mean, I spent that entire year like planning for this and reading everything I could read. So it was not just like going and having no idea what to do, but I got very like
assuming it wasn't like the actual film where she did have no idea.
No, I did some
do you ever, I mean, you talk about these kind of two versions of yourself. Do you ever look back at the person you were before you discovered the outdoors, and do you ever wish you could go back and give that person some advice to have gotten into it earlier in life, or do you think that you needed to get where you were to be here?
I think that I think I did it in the perfect time for me. I think
that's good.
I mean, I'm not that like spiritual, like everything happens for a reason. But I think that I am where I am today because all these things has happened the way they have happened. So, I'm very happy. I mean, I'm very happy in the place I am in life right now, and I wouldn't be here if it would have been differently.
You always look happy. That's something I've noticed. You're always smiling, laughing. Oh, geez, it's getting me down. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's fun. It's great to watch. You when I see you traveling in the wild in any of your videos, even though I don't understand what you're saying, you look genuinely. I don't know, fascinated, like engaged, and you do look like you're having such a good time and sound like it too. I mean, you don't need to know a language to know when somebody's talking in a way that they're super excited. So it's nice to see.
Yeah.
But thankfully, you did a film in English, which was fantastic because I got to watch The Ultimate Guide to Kebnekaise. Kebnekaise, something like that.
It's hard. Kebnekaise. Yes. Nice.
Thank you. I love that, by the way. I don't think I'll ever get to Kebnekaise. Maybe I'll get to the bottom and look up and take a photo and say, wow, this is cool. Thanks for bringing me this far, Linda. Let's go check out some of the things that aren't up there. So, yeah, I think that'd be nice. But it didn't take away from the enjoyment that I got out of the film. I genuinely, and I'm not just saying that, I watched this before I even contacted you about coming on as a guest. I already watched that film and I thought, wow, this is enjoyable because, yes, it is, as it says, a guide to, traveling in that region and climbing those peaks. But it's got something else as well. The way it's put together, it was beautifully shot, and the way that it's put together, it does definitely have some kind of a story. And because it was in English, I understood everything. And if it wasn't in English, there were subtitles, so it was it was a win-win for me. But there's one part where it kind of was just after that snowstorm kind of came in, and then shortly after that, it cuts to you and you're speaking to camera, and it kind of breaks out of the how would you say, the guide for a second, and then you're just talking so passionately to the camera about the drastic changes in weather and how it makes it such a special experience. And I could see like this honesty and this intensity in your eyes, and I thought, wow, that's just beautiful. Like that one piece of the film where it goes from how to climb this area to all of a sudden drops into you just absolutely frothing at how excited you are about this. And I thought that was just a beautiful piece of the film. And I'm so glad that they kept that in there, and I'm so glad that you got to say that.
I've seen that.
Thank you. Happy to hear that.
Yeah, I've watched that and loved it as well. It's so well shot, and I've really found it must be great for people who want to follow in your footsteps. It's a really good,
super detailed.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And but then the way that you came through that, it was really nice to kind of get to meet you through that video, because I thought, it was really well done, and you gave it some honesty, and I really liked it. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's almost like that part there is almost like I wouldn't say a break of character, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all, but it's funny because your kind of mindset throughout the film is you're giving people information, and I do this myself. If I'm giving somebody technical information, I go into a different tone, and I'm thinking, and I'm presenting information, and they're facts, and they're important. But that's a beautiful part of that film where you change from that instructor to this, just this person appreciating where you are. And it's about 1 minute of gold in the middle, in the middle of the rest of the gold, by the way. Yeah, the whole thing's good. It's just the shiny bit. And one of my favorite quotes of that whole film is right at the end. Is that a friend or an acquaintance or a hiking buddy that you do that film with?
That who I climb with, or who's filming?
Who you climb with.
That is, his name is Per, and he works as the sport director at the Kebnekaise mountain station.
Oh yeah, he's
so
cool.
We have met a couple of times.
He's a cool dude. Seems like a nice guy. Yeah.
I think he knows that mountain better than anyone else.
Is that right? He says something at the end. You say to him, "So what do you think?" You say to him something like, "So what do you think a person should focus on when they're, getting ready to climb this?" And if I'm pronouncing it correctly, he says, "Uthållighet." Is that how you say it?
Uthållighet.
Uthållighet. That's right. Uthållighet. He just says it 3 times.
Yes.
Which is endurance.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought, that's hilarious. Like, and it's as simple as that. Like, I mean, really, he's just saying, and he gives some great examples too. He says, like, we live in a sedentary life. We have sedentary jobs. We, some people will do like a high intensity workout for 30 minutes and that's it. He said, it's hard to find anybody who's doing or going for a 4-hour run. So, I thought that's cool, because one of my the things I say is when I'm getting ready for a hike, I just say legs all day. That's my motto. It's just legs all day.
Yeah.
If my training's just around legs.
Yeah.
So whatever that is in Swedish.
I took that out of the video too. I thought that was good perspective from the guy there. I thought he did a great job of putting that.
Yeah. He didn't
but
even
I
think
think
about the answer.
No.
He just smashed it.
No, and I think it's very clear that because he sees, I mean, the reason why I wanted to do this film is because it's one of the most popular nature challenges or experience that people does, even if they don't have any hiking experience. Like climbing the highest mountain in Sweden is something that a lot of people want to do, and they see it as an exercise or like strength challenge, which is, I mean, it's really not. It's just having the being able to do something for a very long time. So I think that a lot of people that comes there, they think that doing this, if they do 30 minutes a day, every day, that's what's going to get them to the top. But, well, it's different, totally different way of working out than when you're out and taking it easy for many, many hours.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think not anybody, most people can endure 30 minutes of mental and physical discomfort. But when that turns into 6, 7, 8 hours or multiple days, it can start to crush people's will.
Yeah, so I think that's what I want to like give to people that don't really know what it's about to see it and watch it and understand. Like, oh, okay, this is what climbing a mountain is about. Maybe I should do some longer hikes as well to prepare myself even better.
Yeah, well, I think you succeeded. It's a fantastic film,
Right.
and there's so many good tips in there, just about every aspect of hiking and safety and personal locator beacons and all sorts of stuff like that. And especially my favorite, be prepared for all sorts of weather, because I get sick of reading all of these things about lost hikers who are only wearing a cotton t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was a rescue operation just the week before I got there when there was some people that had been hiking out in shorts and ended up on a different mountain.
Oh, no.
So it's definitely needed.
How did that film come about? How did that idea pop up, and how did you get that?
Actually, I was doing a film about Kungsleden. So I was hiking Kungsleden, the King's Trail, in the beginning of the summer, which I'm editing at the moment. So
you're editing that now?
Yeah, so that's not
great.
done yet.
Good.
But as I was doing that, because the north part of Kungsleden is very much hiked, it goes from Abisko to Nikkaluokta, and then you pass Kebnekaise. So we wanted to add a part of Kebnekaise to that film. But as time went on, I realized that it would be better to do 2 separate films and then cut them a little bit together, but then also have the Kebnekaise film as a separate film.
Yeah, I think that was a great decision, because that Kebnekaise film stands alone perfectly. Like it is what it is. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the next part. Well, it's not the next part.
Yeah.
It was the prequel, wasn't it? You did that before.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You've got another. Well, you got a short film. I'll call it a short film. Called "With Passion for Nature."
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Now, in that you say that nature's a place where you disconnect and reconnect and also be present. I know earlier you said that you're not a very spiritual person, but they sure sound like some spiritual words there. And when I say spiritual, I'm not using the word spiritual related to religion. I'm just using it as, how would you say it? Like an interest in your own well-being and your interest in your own wellness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that, I mean, there is so much that has changed for me since I started being outdoor doing adventures. So I think that journey, like the inner journey, is very interesting, and I think that is something that I try to talk about when I have talks, for example. And I want to use myself as an example, but I love to bring people out. But I also love to make people think that, follow their dreams and follow their heart and do what they want, and not think too much about what other people thinks or things that can
dreams
stop
that
them.
aren't specifically outdoors. You just mean
it doesn't have to be
dreams that
outdoors. Yeah.
Right, got you. Yeah. Okay. Yours in particular is outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's nice. And I noticed that you were doing some talks, some presentations. Is that something that you're finding yourself doing more of in recent times?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I did a lot of them just after the PCT, and then I've done a lot of them after the Expedition Sweden as well.
Oh, that's great. And obviously you were, do you mean Expedition Sweden, the adventure, or do you mean the book? Little of both.
I think, but more after the book came out, of course. It got a little bit bigger then.
And what prompted you to go from doing that Swedish adventure to then actually thinking, oh, this would be a good idea to write a book?
Well, actually, we were thinking about making a film out of it. So my boyfriend, who has filmed the Kebnekaise film as well, he was with me on a few sections, and we filmed, and then I filmed myself. But then when I came home, I was invited to a book release for a food, like a cooking book, which I have no idea why I've been invited to, because I eating freeze-dried food. I'm not like, when people ask me in interviews, like, what's your best food tips? I'm like, I really like this pad thai by this brand. So, yeah, but I got invited to that, and while being there, I found out who the editor was for the publisher of that book, and I started talking to her, and then a month later I had a contract. So it went from a film to the book.
That's cool. I'm going to say it straight away. It's a pretty handy boyfriend you've got there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I should get myself one of those too. Sick of self-filming.
Yeah, that's great.
No, that's good. No, that was well shot, that film. So full credit to him.
Yes.
Please pass that on.
Absolutely.
Tell him that I
will.
enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's amazing just in that, because I've been out the entire summer when I doing that, and he's coming from works in Stockholm and climbed the mountain twice, and and with a camera and all that gear.
Yeah, he's doing it. Oh, that's incredible.
That's harder for him.
Yeah, for sure. I have filmed a documentary before carrying film gear, and it's not the easiest thing in the world trying to not die at the same time as capture something special. But it is rewarding, and I'm sure he looks back on that and thinks that it was worth every second.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so too, for both of your sake. The something that I started to notice as I watched more and more of your videos was the fact that you're out there solo a lot. And it's no secret that, or rather it won't be now because I'm about to say it, the way that we got in touch was a previous guest of ours is Thomas Ivung, absolutely fantastic guy on Instagram, and we had a great chat with him years ago. And on his Instagram feed, his son was reading your book. And I'm I love books, and so anything about outdoors or wilderness or whatever, I mean, what's that? What's he reading? What's that kid reading? And I noticed in the comments that you had responded and, sent a nice message to his son. And so then I was able to look you up, and then that just started the whole snowball effect.
Yeah.
But the timing was what was so amazing. It was literally 2 days after I'd received a message on our Facebook group for this podcast from a woman who said, "Oh, can you give us some more information and tips on solo hiking for women?" And I said, well, in a nutshell, I think that I'd be able to give some information on that, some logical information, no matter what sex you are, but we're not female, so we can't 100% do that job. No. And then it was literally 2 days later, and I even sent you a screenshot from that, and I said, I need your help, Linda. We need someone like you, because I looked through your stuff and I said, oh my gosh, this is meant to be. You just saying earlier, you're not a big fan of the meant to be, and I'm not really either. But this is one of those occasions where it just dropped right in my lap, and I said, wow, that's the lady I need to contact. And so I guess that kind of leads me to back to that question is, what is the attraction with you traveling solo? And I'm assuming that a lot of people were somewhat concerned or a little bit negative about that, perhaps, or maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe they were shocked when I did something, but I think I've always followed my heart in life. So I think that, my parents, for example, I don't know, but I think that they are like, okay, she's gonna do this now. And as parents, you're worried all the time, but I think she knows what she's doing. She's not stupid. What was the question?
That's okay. What attracts you to traveling solo so much? Because you seem to do it a lot,
I really like doing it because, I think it's a luxury to be able to be on your own and take care only of yourself for a while, because that is something you never get to do in your, like, if you want to call it normal life. You are always putting on some type of role when you interact with other people. Yes. Like, even if it's your partner, or if it's your mom, if it's your best friends, or if it's people at work, you are different kinds of people to different people. But when you are only on your own, you have no one to put on that role for. You can only be yourself, and I really like to get into myself that way. And like every time, like finding out who I am and what I want, and like you really get to listen to yourself, not only like your own thoughts, but also what you like, what you prefer, what you like. You learn to listen to yourself. And I think that as a woman, I think we are from a very young age, we are really like, when we come into a situation, we are like always thinking of others and how they feel and how we should be to not make them uncomfortable. How do you say it?
Uncomfortable.
Comfortable. Yeah. So that is something I think every woman, not struggling with, but they are used to it. And then when you get to be only on your own, you can just focus on you and what you want. And I think that's a luxury.
I don't think I've ever
type of freedom.
Well, it is. I don't think I've ever heard anyone use the term being by yourself as a luxury, and I love it. I think that's eloquent. I think that's exactly right. It is a luxury.
Special.
It's rare, right?
It's rare. That's right.
Yeah, we both do it every now and then, and it is very grounding to, as you say, there's no roles to fit into. We're just
No, and you also learn to like listen to your guts, what your guts tells you about stuff. Like maybe I shouldn't go up here, maybe I should go that way, and like all these kinds of stuff. And that's the thing that, like, I think at least women are told not to listen to that much, because we want to be polite all the time. And this guy sounded a little bit. Maybe that was just me, like thinking the word of like. If something has happened to someone, you almost always hear that I had a bad feeling from the beginning.
Oh yes.
But you like ignoring that because you want to be polite.
Right.
And that is something like you don't listen to your guts. You like ignoring your own guts, and then when you come out and being on your own, you like learn over to listen to it and realize that it's kind of good to listen to it.
So when you move back into your everyday life, you're able to take that methodology and use that in what people consider normal situations.
Yeah, and it makes you feel much more confident when you know that you can trust yourself and you know what you want. Because that's what you want and not anyone else.
Yeah.
That is a strength.
I think that's fantastic. And you were saying earlier that you think do you think it's kind of like an instinctual thing as a woman, or are you saying that it's kind of programmed into you from a young age to...
No, I think it's programmed. I think that most women are really good. Like they have a really good like voice in their head that telling us stuff, or if it's our guts or whatever. But we are like programmed not to listen to it in this modern world, I think.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no greater teacher than Mother Nature, because when you make a mistake, you've got to pay for it on the spot when you're by yourself, and you've got nobody to get an opinion from even, which it can be daunting at first, but I think it's quite how would you say it, exciting after a while.
We've always...
and it can be anything like if you want to cross a stream and you're like, okay, everybody goes that way, but look, doesn't that look safer? And now I'm going here where everyone else goes. Like, oh no, that was not a good idea. And then you go the way that you thought was safe, and you're like, maybe next stream I listen to what I... Yeah.
There's always that element of making decisions when you're on your own, and you have to, like you say, listen to your guts. And we've grown a lot through that experience. I know I have, and I've heard Tom say the similar things, that it's been a very personal sort of experience getting out on your own and having to make decisions about just what you're doing around the next corner. It's all the way through. It's all the way along. It doesn't stop when you're out there on your own. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that matter if you're a man or a woman. I'm just thinking that women are more in normal life, like put away from that.
Sure.
Yeah. Especially in that, what some people would consider an extreme environment, like even for you to be in that environment. And this is not me speaking. I'm not trying to sound condescending. I don't believe this, but most of society would believe that, that's not really a place for a woman on her own to be out in the mountains. That's a bit silly, basically because they wouldn't last 3 minutes alive in those conditions, and they probably not giving women like yourself credit for the amount of hours and time that you've put into preparation for such things.
Yeah, I remember when I finished the PCT, I think I wrote to the PCT Association and asked for some statistics that they didn't have. Maybe they have done it now, but how many like women and men that attempt to hike the entire trail, and how many % that actually makes it. I think that would be a very interesting number to see.
That'd be fascinating. And I think you're probably right. I bet they've got those statistics somewhere. That would be really interesting. And I mean, if you wanted to dig deeper on that, it'd be great to know the reasons behind it. But I mean, personally, I just see that most people would perceive that it would be more difficult for a woman because they would immediately impose their own worries and fears onto because you're a woman, well, there's more chance of this and there's more chance of that. It's almost like people jump to those conclusions.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous because I mean nature doesn't change just because you have something in between your legs or not. The winds are just
it
as
does
hard
if
and the rain is as cold.
Jumping over a log.
Oh,
or
maybe.
something.
Yeah, but that would make it harder to be a man.
It does. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's tough out there.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'll explain it later. It's okay. That's one thing we know about. We don't know about anything else.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, I also understand why it is a common, like why I get the question, like how it's to be a female hiker or female adventurer. And it kind of annoys me when I get the question, but at the same time, I understand because I did when I wrote my book, I put out a question on a community on Facebook and asking what people's biggest fear is when they go out on a hike or into nature. And as all of the men said, like getting lost or getting stuck into a snowstorm or stuff like that, but almost all women replied like being attacked by an unknown man.
Yeah.
And the men was really like surprised when this showed up. Like that was the thing that almost all women were most afraid of. And they were like, is me? Is it me you're afraid of?
It's hard not to take that personally if you're a good member of the hiking community.
Yeah, but I mean, like in the cities and in civilization, I think I read something like every 10, like one woman out of 10 have been harassed, like have been through sexual harassment some way.
You mean just in normal everyday life?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In cities, or any time in life, they 1 out of 10, and I think that everyone knows someone.
Yeah.
So it is a fear that I think.
That's a great point.
I understand why the fear is there.
Well, that's a very valid point. So you're just taking that statistic and applying it to, into hiking. So it kind of makes sense that, perhaps.
Yeah, but what I feel like, because that's what you're thinking. I mean, it's very rarely that a woman who has been out a lot, like me, or like even a lot less, but that they are worried. It's more people who starts from scratch that goes out that are worried. Because in my experience, I mean, of course, something can happen, but it's way less likely to happen far out on a hiking trail than when you're going home from the pub I mean, statistically, it's more dangerous to live with a man than go out hiking.
That's a good point too.
Sure.
I like that. I think you make a really good point. And we had a short phone call. I'll say short, but it did go for half an hour prior in the lead up to this. And I said to Craig afterwards, I said, I had to get off because I just wanted to keep talking. But I was just like, I didn't want to ruin the podcast and like just know everything that you told me. But a couple of those points where you did raise, and I thought of those later and thought, they're really good points. And something else we spoke about was, and I did respond in the Facebook group to this listener with this point, and I said, I think there's a misconception that when men are hiking, that A, they're safe and in no danger, and B, that they don't get scared. I think, and I'd have to say that I would assume, again, I can't speak from any statistical evidence, and I'm not a woman, but I would assume that most women, yourself not included, would think that oh yeah, no, for guys hiking, I mean, yeah, of course he's going to be fine. And why would he get scared? There's nothing to be scared about. I don't know. Haven't they heard of grizzly bears?
Mm-hmm.
There's like plenty of things. I mean, Craig's petrified of snakes, aren't you, mate?
Not.
But I think that the difference
Not so
there
much.
is that, I mean, it's okay to be scared. That's the thing. I'm scared when I'm out for, like, if I'm like, oh, should I really camp here? Because there seems to be like a thunderstorm coming in, then I can be scared. But it's also, it's okay to be scared.
Absolutely. We've been scared. I'm happy to say it on this podcast plenty of times,
Yeah.
by myself and with Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly with Craig. He's a scary guy.
But I think that the difference for men and women there is that when we are growing up, when we get scared or something gets hard, there's always someone else taking care of the problem.
Right.
It's also like, it's polite to like do simple things like opening a door for a woman.
Right.
So like, that is why it's something, it's very like
Empowering.
you're not used to like being scared and having to take care of it yourself. And that is also a difference, I think, why we think it's harder for women to be out. It's not harder. It's just more rewarding
Yeah.
because you learn that you can take care of things you're scared of.
I think it's, you see, talking to you, and I know anybody, a female who's a beginner hiker who's contemplating the idea of either starting to solo hike, even during just a half-day hike or a full-day hike, and most definitely an overnight hike. I think because you're so knowledgeable in what you do, you're unbelievably comfortable, which comes from the confidence, and really down to earth, just so normal. I feel like it would be difficult for a woman listening to this who's toying with the idea of moving into solo hiking to listen to you. You almost sound so far from what they could possibly be or what they could possibly achieve. But did you not start at the same place that they did?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's part of like I had it depends on who you are, I guess. I mean, I had a lot of male friends when I grew up. I had more male friends than female friends. So I think that I learned from the beginning that life is for living and not to be avoided. You know?
Right.
So that might be a way that I had in my head that made it easier for me. But there's things that hasn't been easy for me either. And I just think that if you want to start, and if you are afraid of something, if it feels scary to sleep in your tent, I mean, start where it feels safe. Like start in your apartment, put up your tent there and see how it is to not see what happenings outside the walls. And then maybe you can, if you have a house, you can go into your garden or a friend's garden or your parents' garden or something like that and put the tent up there and see how it feels. If it feels scary to have it closed, just open it up so you can see out if that makes you feel safer. And then when that feels okay, take it like baby steps to the next
No, that's great
level.
advice. That's actually really good advice. That's while you were saying that, I thought, oh, well, that's how I'm progressing with my sons. They're just moving into the backyard now, sleeping in the backyard by themselves. And, then they'll, Dad, I heard something over there. Turn the torch on. Okay, I turn the torch on and it's just a toad hopping in the leaves. but that's the thing. Once they know, oh, that's the sound of a toad hopping through the leaves. Okay, then I won't worry about that next time. And they just keep ticking off one thing after the other. So, no, that's good. I like that advice. Yeah, start where you feel safe and then expand from there. I mean, it's quite logical.
Yeah, I remember my first hike in the Swedish mountains where it was kind of late in the season, or even after the summer season. It was in October, I think, and there was a lot of reindeers, and I had no idea what reindeers was about. It's like, are they dangerous, or are they? I didn't know anything about them, but they were kind of nice. But I remember laying in my tent at night, and I just felt like when I heard them, it's like, oh, what is this, and what are they gonna do? And then, I think it was 5 years later, I was back at that same spot, and then I woke up at night and hearing like a lot of reindeers going past my tent, and I just loved the sound of it.
Oh wow!
To like feeling that I'm in their habitat, in the nature of them, and being part of it instead. So that was like two very different way of seeing it in the
like
actual same
you're
place.
kind of like acclimatized or conditioned to get used to that and see it as a positive. That's interesting. I feel the same way about snakes now in Australia.
Oh.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Turned it around,
definitely turned around 180 degrees turn around. It used to be something I would see, in the distance on the path or whatever, whether it was venomous or not. And the first reaction was probably most people's reaction, which is of fear and danger. And but I guess over time, just spend more time around them, and there's I've picked them up on the trail, and there's a picture on Instagram of me with it wrapped around my arm while I was getting ticks out of its face. It was you know what a tick is, right?
Well, I'm not there yet.
Oh, you're not there. You're not there with snakes.
No, I'm not there yet. No.
Do you have many snakes in Sweden?
No, we have not. We have like two different types. One snake that is actually a lizard some way, but
fake snake.
It's fake snake. But only one of them. It's one is harmless, and the other one does a little bit of harm. But
a little bit of harm. So you wouldn't have.
It's not like your animals.
No, we've got so many snakes. We come up with all stupid names for them. Like you probably don't have many names for a snake. We've got the nope rope.
Nope rope.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The nope rope. Nope. We've got the wriggly stick.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of it now.
It's another one. I'll think of another one later. Those are my two favorites: the nope rope and the wriggly stick.
It's funny you say. It's funny you say that you pick them up. We learned like when I did this wilderness first aid training. There was a section of snakes and scorpions and these kinds of animals, and there is a saying that they had from the US. I don't know if you have it too, but it was something like black and yellow kills a fellow, red and black. And then they changed it to red and yellow. Don't pick up snakes.
Very wise.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree with that. I mean, I don't. I'm not saying you should go out and do what I do. Yeah. It's taken me a long time to get to that, and I'm very cautious. But no, I agree. Yeah. Look, if you keep your distance and stay away. You can still admire them from a distance, and I think there's it's better for everybody. I think, but the most of the times I interact with them is when, like that one seemed sick that I picked up, and because it had so many ticks on its face, and then another time there was one straight across the trail, and we literally couldn't proceed, and then I had one in my backyard that was about somewhere around 9 foot long, going through my backyard towards my chickens. So I had to go and capture him and then drive him down the road in my car and let him out in the bush. So yeah, that's mostly. I beg your pardon?
No, it's like stay away from my.
Yeah. My neighbour said, "Oh, where did you let him go?" I said, "Oh, down the end of the street." He said, "Oh, you should have taken him further." Doesn't worry me. Yes, something.
But it's funny, like it's like this kind of proves like most of our fears, not all, but most of them, they are in our heads.
Oh, absolutely.
That's us making them up.
Yes.
We see like fantasize about
Correct.
what can happen, and
education is the key to that, to unlocking that
Yeah.
door. Like, it's always education.
education and experience.
I've got a friend who said he can't stand snakes. He's not good with them at all. And I said, the best thing you could do is, I mean, it sounds like I'm promoting my own podcast, but who cares? It's my podcast. I said, the best thing you can do is go back to one of our earlier episodes where an ex-snake catcher is now a reptile and snake photographer. And the best thing you can do is go back and listen to that, because he methodically goes through all of the characteristics and the nature of a snake. He talks from their perspective. What are they trying to get out of the situation? What do they want? What don't they want? And he explains everything. So, like, we came out of that podcast and I said, well, next time I see a snake, I'm going to be totally chilled, because I understand the ideas that it's having. No different to you with the reindeer experience is when you saw them the first time, are they going to attack the tent? I don't know. When you saw them years later, you probably knew a little bit more about the way that they interact. And I think that goes for everything. I know that Thomas Ebung, who we were talking about earlier, every year he tries to get to a particular part. It's up where up near where is it the Sami people still?
The mountains, he calls it.
Yeah, where they're like the traditional people of Sweden, aren't they? The Sami? Yeah. He goes up into those areas and he goes bear watching with his friends. And for somebody like myself who's never seen a bear in the wild, I think, well, I wouldn't know the first thing about what it means when they do this, or what it means when they do that, or when do I get scared? Do I just get scared when I see it, or do I get scared when it's got me against the tree? I don't know which one. Well, probably I would know at the time. Probably both, Linda, if I'm honest. But then when people are so comfortable around something like he is, then it becomes natural, and you understand what's happening. You can move in that space in a completely different way to somebody like myself, which I think folds nicely into the conversation we're having about, a woman traveling through the, solo hiking, solo canoeing, or whatever, is just that education is going to be the key to removing some of those fears.
Yeah, the education and the experience. To feel that, okay, this is. I mean, it's so much easier to say that it's in your head than to actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Feel it. So by experience, I think we will.
Yeah.
We will find it out.
And there's like we said before, I remember my first solo. It was a canoe trip. It wasn't a hike, and I remember being, I don't know, just out of sorts is a way that I would explain it. Like, not right. And concerned about everything, just double checking everything, almost like OCD, and worrying about everything. And it took me like a whole day or something to actually, it wasn't until the next day where I actually started to enjoy where I was and what I was doing. But it's a learning process. How often do we spend time alone as humans nowadays?
Almost never.
Almost never. And even if we are alone, we've still got access to a device which makes it seem like we're not alone, even though we still are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a big step for anybody. It's not just about women.
Yeah. That's right.
There's stuff to be afraid of, even in our normal lives every single day. And, fear and anxiety just creeps into...
I think there's more things. I mean,
Of
have
course,
you seen cars?
of course.
Have you seen how fast they drive?
Yeah.
It's like...
I believe that's what I'm almost trying to say there. And then when you
Yeah.
get out into the wild, fear's always part of it, no matter what that fear is, and some of them are real, and we have to overcome them. The best adventures have some element of fear, otherwise they don't excite us in the start, and especially at the end when you get back and you go, wow, we achieved something there. So there's always that overcoming your fear thing with
I think there's a certain I have a certain trust in Mother Nature. When I say trust, I understand how she works, and I understand how most of the animals and creatures work within the areas that I frequent. Something that I think we did touch on our phone call as well was, I think I remember saying to you, people have asked me in the past, when you're hiking and you're alone out there for a couple of days, what are you scared of? Like, what are you scared of breaking your leg, or are you scared of wild dogs or dingoes? Are you scared of getting bitten by a snake? And I said, no, none of those things. None of those things. The only thing I'm slightly concerned about is running into other people. Literally, I would rather run into a pack of dingoes, which is a wild dog in Australia, if you're not familiar with it. I'd rather run into a pack of dingoes or a boar or anything than run into other people. And I'm not talking about just on a regular hiking trail. It's nice to bump into other people and have a conversation and everything like that. But I'm talking about right in the wilderness where, you're only there for certain reasons, and they're either good or bad.
Well, I would guess that I'm not worried about if I meet someone like tens of kilometers or miles into a trail, because people there are they are positive, hopefully.
Yeah,
they are like, but people
you can't get there easily, can you?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. It's such. I think that if you are a person who sets out on such a long hike, that is something that you feel passionate for.
Correct.
And evil actions, bad actions, doesn't come from a positive mindset. They come from being like depressed, like feeling that you're not belonging, feeling that you're lonely, feeling that you're bad, or feeling not connecting to others. That's where bad actions comes from, not from being positive and doing the things you love.
Yes.
But I think where I'm more afraid of other people is when I'm close to a trailhead or a campground or places where alcohol can be brought to.
And that's where it happens on the PCT and on the Appalachian Trail, and that it happens within, for any of the listeners who don't know, these trails pass through small towns quite regularly or semi-regularly. And I've read reports of people from the towns, with mental issues or whatever, then going on the trail, and then things happen. So you're correct in that a lot of it's happening around the civilization. And as you said earlier, I don't think anybody who's got the inclination to hike for 12 hours into the wilderness is the sort of person who doesn't want to be there because of the wilderness.
No, and it's all like, usually it's something like if a person is bad or evil, or what you want to call him or her, he or she is that all the time. But alcohol is something that can drag that out of a person.
Yeah.
And it's very unlikely that you carry that amount of alcohol
It's
that
heavy.
far out on a trip.
Craig's the only person I know who carries that much. Like literally the
I'm
only
so
person.
strong.
But he seems nice.
That's right. He's one of the nice ones. He just gets all mellow and cuddly. But he trains specifically to carry that much. He's a massive backpack and everything.
Just
but
got back to working out, actually.
Yeah, he gets into ultralight hiking just so he can carry more whiskey.
Freeze-dried whiskey.
Yeah, it's dehydrated whiskey.
Yeah.
You just add water and shake it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a product, actually, Linda. We should be marketing this.
No, you don't have to be scared of me. I'm okay.
No, he's all right. He's all right. I've been out many a times with him.
But I understand you with it. Like, I know I could feel a little bit, but that's also like, as I said before, it's okay to be scared. It's okay because that makes you alert, and that makes you like making good decisions, which you have to trust yourself that you can do. And as we said before, like, listen to what your gut say. If there is a person that feels creepy, don't interact with that person. I mean, you can be polite, but you can just like say hi and then you can keep going. You don't have to make like the day for that person. You don't have to interact with him or her.
And you can make the following decisions based on that as well. Like you could decide to camp in a different place or whatever, or continue on to the next campground or whatever based on those kind of vibes that you got.
Yeah, I mean, if you have been able to put your pack together and put it on your pack, you're probably not a stupid person. You can think. That's
anyone that can
clear that out.
Pack a backpack's got there.
So that's like, I mean, So if there's someone who feels creepy, like, don't tell him where you're planning on sleeping or her, or like you can also like tell her like a. Do you call it white lie?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Like you can say that, my partner is just around the corner, or he's come there, or I'm meeting her there. That's okay if you feel that makes you feel safer.
Yep. Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's good advice.
Something that I took a group of women out for their first hike, or at least their first significant hike, a few years ago now, and about halfway or 2/3 through the hike, we sat down and we had some tea and coffee and just sat looking at the stream and having a good conversation. And I said to them, what's because some of them, actually all of them were work colleagues, so I had spent a lot of time with them at work, and we all, knew each other on a personal level. And then they trusted me enough to, they knew I was into the outdoors for many years. And then I said, hey, the 5 of us should get out there. And so something that came up in conversation when I said to him, like, why is it only now that you're doing this with me? Like, have you not had opportunities to do this previously? And one of the common threads that came up in the conversation was they didn't have anybody to do it with, male or female. They didn't know anybody who was interested in that. So that was the first blocker. But then the second one was, if they did know a guy that took them somewhere, usually he was too focused on showing off or being brave, or hiking, showing how fit he is, and hiking too fast for them, or climbing too fast, and just all these silly kind of ego fueled things. But I just thought that was, I thought it was sad, actually. And so when you were getting into these things, I mean, you've already said that you had more male friends than female as you were growing up. Did you find it easy to find the right sort of people to get you out there and start getting you used to the outdoors?
Well, the first person I turned to was my mom.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
So we did our first hike together. Then, I came from I worked within the music business. So there was not many people
Yes.
by then who were into the outdoors. So and that was also a reason why I went out on my own, because there was really no one else interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so your mum, there you go. Maybe you could give out your mum's number on the podcast and people can come and start hiking with your mum, because it's obviously worked well for you.
Yeah.
It's the secret. That's great.
Beginner guide.
Yeah, excellent. That's awesome. Now, something that came up I think it was earlier this week, I said, when we're talking about availability for the podcast, you said, I've got a kayaking class. Did you mean that you were instructing? Or, yeah, that didn't occur to me until later when I was watching a few more of your videos. Again, I can't understand what you're saying, but you've got a whole list of what seemed like really informative, basic sort of kayaking information, instructional videos, like short little ones that show how to get in from the shore, how to get out from the shore, how to get in and out from a what would you call it, like a dock or a jetty. So that's what made me think, hang on a second, you weren't getting a kayak lesson. Why would you be getting a kayak lesson? You'd traveled the whole way across Sweden. So is that something that you're doing sort of regularly as well?
Not the kayaking. I got. I took a course on being a sea kayak leader last year.
Oh, right.
I haven't done that much since. I'm also the last year I've been focusing on doing a mountain leader education. So now it's me and a friend, actually, or two friends, started a traveling agency just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So thank you. So we're going to start working on helping people out in nature in different ways, in different, from hiking or biking or kayaking.
Oh, that sounds great.
Different kinds of
I
trips.
mean, that's exactly what people need, especially, females, to be able to contact someone like yourself and then be guided. I mean, I think that's that's great. It's perfect.
Everything you've done must be very inspirational to a lot of people. A lot of girls must look up to you and think, geez, I want to be able to do that and overcome my fears. And
I'm going to say guys as well.
Sure.
I mean, I watched all your stuff and read a lot of your articles and went, oh, wow.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to learn here, which I think is fantastic. And it's just...
Well, I think if I can inspire, that nothing makes me happier than that. And if I even can help someone taking that first steps, I mean, that's incredible.
What do you say to somebody who's... What do you say to our listeners that are... Because we do get a lot of new hikers. In fact, people have written to us and said they've listened to us before they've even hiked. Like they've jumped onto here to get an idea of what hiking is. And that's unfortunate for them because we don't know anything about hiking and usually we have terrible experiences. So that's why we got you on. So what do you say to people like that? Like, what do you say to somebody who's just, they're listening, they're either just getting into it or they want to get into it? And I mean, male or female, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I used to say that, start where you are with what you have and what you know or can today, and just take it step by step from there.
That's cool.
Make the challenge a little. If you have been walking hours around your neighborhood, next time maybe walk for 4 hours and bring some food, and maybe when that feels all right and you feel safe and you know what you're doing, next step is to be out for a full day, and maybe a couple of times later or next time you can sleep over in nature.
Well, you've taken
it a lot. Just take it step by step.
You've taken it a lot further than
Yeah,
that.
you've taken it further than
Yeah, but that's what it just feel like. If it feels okay, then take
that's
the next
fantastic.
step.
That's
And if it
great.
feels really good, then take it. You can take a bigger step.
Of course.
But don't take it too far. I mean, it's a safety thing too. Of course, need to know what to bring if you set out on a longer.
Well, that's
longer
good.
hike.
Now
And-
I know what to say to people. I just say,
Yeah.
well, as Linda would say,
Yeah.
start with what you've got. When
Yeah.
I'm going to have to listen back to that and get it perfect.
Yeah. I'm going to write that down.
That's excellent advice. I love it. It's so simple, but you're 100% correct in that. I think, and it doesn't just go for hiking; it goes for a lot of things where people think, if I want to get into, XYZ, I'm going to need this gear, and I'm going to need to do this. I'm going to need to do this. Oh, I thought that's too hard. That's all too hard.
Yeah.
I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't know anybody. All those sort of barriers perhaps don't need to be there if you just start, as you say, with what you've got right now. That's
Yeah. I mean, it's another reason like to not. It gets so expensive if you start with buying all the gear, because when you've been out for a couple of times, then you realize that you made a wrong decision, that you need something else, that it wasn't the back you wanted.
We know all about that. Yes.
Yeah.
we spent the money before our first hike, and
Yeah.
I said to Craig during the first hike, if this is what hiking is, I don't know if I want to do it again.
Oh.
It was horrible.
It was
we were. I was about to say I was unfit. I wasn't unfit. I wasn't hiking fit. I'd never done any training with my legs, so we'd hike up these hills and mountains, and I just it was horrific.
Didn't seem like fun, did it?
That's the worst thing I could possibly think of. So, yeah, don't take our advice. Take Linda's. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah. Keep it simple, but then, build on it, Build on it, and if you start to see that objective of getting out where you can, as you say, get a little bit of perspective on your normal life, get out into the wild and connect with yourself. I've found so much in that. That's why I enjoy our the weekends and our adventures where we disconnect a bit.
Well, that's going to be the hook, isn't it? Like once you get out there and realize how amazing that is.
Yeah.
To be in nature. I think.
I mean, that's why when I thought about chatting with you and Tom said that, I thought there's a gender gap perhaps. Well, people are missing out perhaps on what we experience when we go out there. Well, let's encourage it and within reason, be safe and take it one step at a time. But there is something to gain from getting out in the wild, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
Linda.
And it doesn't have to be hiking the PCT. It can be just like leave your phone and go for an hour in the woods around the corner where you live.
I'm glad you said that, because you just, some
Scale it
people
down.
might have started to tune out and go, oh, what? I don't have to do the PCT. Oh, okay, then I'm back in.
Yes.
No, that's great, Linda. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and to be honest, I'd really love to do it again sometime in the future when you've got another 50 amazing adventures under your belt, which will probably only take you about a year and a half. So I'm already looking forward to that. And
well, thank you.
When
it's been a pleasure talking to you too.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's when I say when I get over there, I'll definitely be hassling you to take me to the bottom of only of
the car park.
Yeah, if we could just, that's it in the distance. Could let me just get a photo. All good. Move on. No, I can go to the bottom. I'm all good. So yeah, definitely we'll be hassling you, and I appreciate not just your time, but I appreciate how open you've been, and how generous you've been. And I absolutely know that people, male and female, are going to be inspired and excited by what they get to take away from today's conversation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, we'd really appreciate your ratings and comments if you can spare the time. If you'd like to know more about HikeordieTV and keep track of our adventures around Australia, make sure you drop by HikeordieTV.com. That's where you'll find all the information you'll need to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or Pinterest. As always, we appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.